Hey, welcome to my channel. It's it's sort of not what I predicted, but it came out to what we sort not came out to what it sort to be. It was just a little surprising. Um, but in this situation, though, I was sort of semi right, at least uh, with Carlos Sainz and what he did. Now, granted, the way it worked out is if you see essentially, Carlos Sainz did win the. Actually, let me resize myself here. Carlos Sainz did win, the Australian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc, of course, as well too, finishing number two. Then what's a little surprising was Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri finishing 3-4. So McLaren being, ended up getting some serious points. Checo being inconsistent as usual, basically. And the one thing that sort of surprised me a little bit more than anything else was the fact that Lance Stroll and Yuki Tsunoda are both like in the top seven. A little bit of a surprise right there. Quite honestly, I think this is a case where if given three more races, let's see what happens in three more races. If Daniel Ricciardo cannot beat Yuki, Daniel Ricciardo does not deserve that Red Bull car. That if Horner having the soft spot for Ricciardo will give him that Red Bull car over Yuki, then you know something's up. Because Yuki, he is performing, quite honestly. He is definitely performing. Fernando Alonso, number 8, of course, and then Nico Hulkenberg and Magnussen Haas, 9 and 10. They gained some points as well too, surprisingly. Alex Albon, he was having issues. Of course, his car wasn't as great. I knew that was going to be an issue. The real biggest surprise, of course, was the fact that you got Lewis Hamilton and George Russell both pretty much not finishing the race, which really hurts Mercedes. Hamilton, I don't think really cares too much. Russell, of course, does. Max, that was a little surprising with the way the race went out exactly. I mean, as far as his brakes were on fire. But I think that's the only way now you're going to see how Max Verstappen does not gain these points is more so the fact is like, unless there's some kind of like engine trouble or mechanical failure, this is the only way you're going to beat Max. And Carlos Sainz, like, mad props to him, as I said in my video yesterday. If he performs and keeps performing the way he does and goes all out, I think he deserves that second car in Red Bull over Checo, basically, if they plan to get rid of Checo. Or two, Sainz goes to Mercedes. But I don't think Sainz should go to Mercedes, let Alonso go to there. He probably should go to either Aston Martin or Red Bull, quite honestly. Now, let's see what the whole driver situation is, of course. As you see here, Max Verstappen, it's a close one because Verstappen not getting any points. Now you got Charles Leclerc only 4 points behind. It's going to be interesting to see how this works out. If Leclerc can consistently finish in the top two, Leclerc should be able to win that championship possibly. Same thing with Sainz. Sainz is only 11 points behind. If he can win and be the top two ahead of Verstappen, and Verstappen actually can be pushed down to number 3 or number 4, Sainz could also potentially be that champion as well too. Forget about Checo. Checo's never going to win. We know this. We see this. We've seen this day in and day out. Each year that he's been with Red Bull, he's always going to be the number 2 guy, but he'll never be able to overtake Verstappen. Russell, I hate to say this, but like he's doing decent enough. The one thing that's a little surprising is Oscar Piastri being better than Lando Norris. Lando Norris has that talent. Alpine had Piastri. Alpine knew of his potential. The fact that McLaren was able to steal him shows that essentially that Alpine's original team principal, I forgot his name now. What was his name? Give me a second. I gotta remember his name. I completely forgot his name. It was that long name before. Sorry, I gotta look it up a little bit. Otmar, Otmar Safnar. Um, I mean, that was like a thing where like you can see Otmar knew and had the recognized Oscar Piastri, versus seeing how Bruno Farman. Honestly, Bruno Farman, you're seeing what's happening right now. You're seeing what's happening. I mean, it seems like Bruno basically was the one that basically essentially tried to up. I don't want to say work behind the scenes, but it seems like it was. I mean, if you saw Drive to Survive, the latest season, I know Netflix was focusing a little bit on Otmar versus Bruno, and you're saying Bruno like not being happy and everything like that. But honestly, I don't think this is a case where Bruno was suited for this. I mean, quite honestly, if you take a look, you'll see Esteban and Pierre basically having no points, pretty much not finishing in the top 10. Yeah, this is a close race basically between Ferrari and Red Bull. If I say, as I said basically before, if both Carlos and Leclerc, Charles and Carlos, Spanish version of Charles, of course, ironically enough, two Charleses on the team. If both Chucks can actually stay consistent and both finish in the top three, top two, top three, Red Bull might have a competitor in the Constructors' Cup. Let's not take out Mercedes, of course. I mean, if Mercedes with if somehow Mercedes puts an incentive clause for this year for Lewis Hamilton to do, if he finishes in the top five, and Mercedes gets into the number 2 spot, you'll probably see, then probably you might see Hamilton shoot up a little bit and, like go all out at that point to bring Mercedes back into the top 2. But the fact that McLaren's number 3, overshooting both Mercedes and Aston Martin, is a little surprising in and of itself. But in any case, this is just a dramatic surprise, quite honestly, more than anything else. I mean, honestly, it's shaping out to be an interesting season. Let's see how Ferrari does with Carlos and with Charles. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I have a feeling it's going to be between Charles and Carlos for the number 2 spot at least. I think Max is going to get his number 4. Basically, it's just more of a case of like what will happen with Carlos. He might just go all out. I mean, if he raced the last race prior to Australia, and let's say he'd done Saudi Arabia, if he was able to race in Saudi Arabia, chances are he probably would be up there with Leclerc. He'd probably be ahead of Checo, quite honestly. It would be interesting to see the next set of races that happens. Japan and China. I'd love to see what happens in Japan and China, and then maybe Miami. He might change considerably. He might be the one that could win out in Miami, for all we know. In any case, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts and to see what happens with. Well, actually, I'd love to know your thoughts. Please leave it in the comment section. I do read my comments and I do respond to when they warrant a response. Just let me know your thoughts about it. Like, do you think this is going to be the year where Max is going to be challenged? Do you think Carlos Sainz is better than Charles Leclerc, based on the way things are going right now? Or do you think this is a case where Ferrari probably made a mistake in bringing in Hamilton? But in any case, like I said, let me know your thoughts about this. And as always, if you like my channel, like my video, and like my content, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.